Commander Thelvos stood on the bridge of the dominant flame, staring at displays that showed nothing but failure. Red warnings covered every screen. The ship's main systems were dead. Around him, his officers worked frantically at their stations, but their faces told the same story. They were trapped. The Xanthari Imperial fleet had been the pride of the Empire for 300 years. 12 massive warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. 50,000 of the Empire's finest warriors, scientists, and crew members. They had been on a routine patrol through the Korvax Nebula, a journey they had made 1,000 times before. Nothing should have gone wrong, but everything had gone wrong. The quantum drives had failed all at once. One moment, the fleet was moving through subspace at incredible speed. The next moment, every ship had been thrown back into normal space like stones skipped across water. The drives were burned out completely. Worse, the sudden stop had damaged other systems throughout the ships. Life support was failing. Power was dropping. Communications were weak. Thelvos had commanded warships for 40 years. He had fought in 7 major battles. He had never known fear like this. In battle, you could fight back. Here, there was nothing to fight. Just the cold emptiness of space and the slow countdown to death. Status report, he said, keeping his voice steady. A commander could not show fear. His second officer, Krelnax, looked up from his station. His scaled face was pale. Life support at 60% across the fleet, dropping 2% every hour. Power reserves at 40%. The quantum drives are completely destroyed. We cannot repair them with what we have. Thelvos felt his chest tighten. How long? 30 hours until life support fails on most ships. Maybe 40 on the dominant flame. 30 hours. Less than 2 days. 50,000 lives. Send distress signals on all frequencies, Thelvos ordered. Full power. Let everyone know we are here. He did not say what they both knew. They were 17 light-years from the nearest Xanthari outpost. Even if the signal reached home immediately, even if a rescue fleet left at once, they could not arrive in time. The Xanthari Empire did not have ships fast enough to save them. But Thelvos was a warrior. He would not give up while breath remained in his body. The hours crawled past like wounded animals. The distress signal went out screaming into the void. The fleet drifted in the darkness between stars. Engineers worked desperately to keep systems running. Medical teams prepared for the worst. Everyone knew what was coming. On the second day, they received responses to their distress signal. Thelvos felt a moment of hope before he read the messages. The first was from the Krelix Dominion, their oldest rivals. Xanthari fleet, your distress has been noted. The Dominion remembers the Treaty of Krell. You violated our territory 3 years ago. Let the void take you. This is justice. The second was from the Yithrin Collective. We received your signal. Unfortunately, we have no ships in your region. We wish you well. A polite way of saying they would not help. The third was from a Xanthari listening post, 17 light-years away. Message received. Rescue fleet being organized. Estimated arrival time, 9 days. 9 days. They had less than 1 day left. Thelvos read the messages to his senior staff. No one spoke. What was there to say? We are Xanthari, Thelvos finally said. We will face the end with honor. Make sure all crew members understand. There will be no panic, no chaos. We go into the dark as warriors. His officers saluted and left to spread the word. Alone in his command chamber, Thelvos allowed himself a moment of weakness. He thought of his family on the homeworld. His mate, his 3 children. He had sent them a final message hours ago, but he did not know if it would reach them in time. The Xanthari had ruled their sector of space for 1,000 years. They had conquered 12 systems. They had defeated every enemy that challenged them. And now they would die in the dark, killed by a malfunction, forgotten by everyone except those who hated them. It seemed like a cruel joke. The life support continued to fail. The air grew thin and cold. Some crew members began to struggle with breathing. Medical stations filled with the weak and the sick. The ships became tombs waiting to be sealed. On the 3rd day, with only hours of breathable air remaining, Thelvos made his final log entry. This is Commander Thelvos of the Xanthari Imperial Fleet. We have done our duty to the last. We fought the darkness as long as we could. To whoever finds this recording, know that we were Xanthari. We were warriors. We did not surrender to death. It had to take us by force. He closed the log. Around him, the bridge was quiet. His crew sat at their stations, waiting. Some prayed to the old gods. Some simply stared at the stars. Thelvos looked at the main display, showing the empty space around them. A beautiful way to die, he supposed. Surrounded by stars, then one of those stars moved. Commander. The sensor officer's voice cracked with emotion. 3 ships approaching. Not Xanthari design. Unknown configuration. Thelvos stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Show me. The display changed. 3 vessels were moving toward the fleet. They were small compared to Xanthari warships. Strange shapes, unfamiliar technology. The sensor officer worked frantically at his controls. They are slowing down, coming to a stop near our position. They are hailing us. Put it through, Thelvos ordered. A voice came through the communication system. The translation software struggled with the language, but the words came through clearly enough. Xanthari Fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Exploration Convoy. We received your distress signal. We are here to help. What do you need? Thelvos stared at the display. Humans. He had never heard of them. They were not on any Xanthari charts, but they were here. They were here. This is Commander Thelvos. We need everything. Life support failing. No power for repairs. We are dying. There was a pause. Then the human voice came back, calm and steady. Understood. We are deploying repair teams now. Hold on. You are not dying today. On the display, smaller craft began launching from the human ships. Dozens of them, heading toward the Xanthari fleet. Thelvos felt something he had not felt in 3 days. Hope. His second officer looked at him with wide eyes. Commander, who are these humans? Why are they helping us? Thelvos shook his head. I do not know, Krelnax. I do not know. But as he watched the human ships approach, he made a decision. If they survived this, if these strange aliens saved them, he would spend the rest of his life finding out why. Because in a galaxy where rivals let you die and allies were too far away, someone had come when no one else would. The human ships drew closer, and for the first time in 3 days, Thelvos allowed himself to believe they might survive after all. Captain Sarah Chen had been drinking coffee when the distress signal came through. It was her 3rd cup of the morning, which meant it was going to be a long day even before the universe decided to complicate things. Captain, we are picking up something strange, her communications officer said. Lieutenant Park was young but good at his job. When he said something was strange, it usually was. Define strange, Sarah said, setting down her coffee. Distress signal. Very powerful. Not human origin. Language unknown, but the pattern is clear. Someone needs help. Sarah moved to the main display. The signal's origin point appeared on the star chart. It was close. Maybe 6 hours away at current speed. She pulled up the analysis. 12 large vessels. Very large. Much bigger than ours. No power signatures. They are dead in space. Sarah's convoy consisted of 3 ships. The Iron Mountain was a mining hauler, carrying equipment and supplies to a new colony site. The New Hope was a colony transport with 500 civilians on board. The Vigilant was a small military escort frigate. Sarah commanded the convoy from the Vigilant. She looked at the readings again. 12 massive ships. Unknown design. Unknown species. Dead in space. Her first officer, Commander Marcus Webb, stepped up beside her. Could be a trap. Could be, Sarah agreed. Could also be someone dying, Park added quietly. Sarah studied the display. Marcus was right to be cautious. First contact situations were dangerous. The unknown ships were clearly more advanced than human vessels. If it was a trap, her small convoy would not stand a chance, but the distress signal was real. She could feel it. Someone out there was dying. How many people do you think are on those ships? She asked. Park worked his console. Based on size and configuration, maybe 40 to 50,000. 50,000 lives. Sarah thought about the 500 civilians on the New Hope. Families, children, people trying to build a better life on a new world. She thought about how she would feel if they were stranded and no one came to help. Change course, she ordered. Take us to them. Marcus did not argue. He knew her well enough. Aye, Captain. All ships follow our lead. The convoy turned and headed toward the unknown fleet. As they approached, Sarah sent a message on all frequencies. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Exploration Convoy. We received your distress signal. Can you respond? For a long moment there was nothing. Then a voice came through. The translation software struggled but managed to convert the alien words. This is Commander Thelvos of the Xanthari Imperial Fleet. We need everything. Life support failing. No power for repairs. We are dying. The voice sounded tired, desperate. Sarah had heard that tone before. It was the sound of someone who had given up hope and then found it again. Understood, Sarah replied. We are deploying repair teams now, hold on. You are not dying today, she turned to Marcus. Get every engineer we have. Pull maintenance teams from all 3 ships. Bring all the spare parts and life support equipment we can carry. Medical teams on standby. Captain, Marcus said carefully, if we give them our supplies, we might not have enough for the colony. Then the colony will have to wait, Sarah said. We can call for more supplies. These people cannot wait. Marcus nodded and started giving orders. Within minutes, dozens of small craft were launching from the human ships. Each one carried engineers, medical staff, and equipment. Sarah watched them go, feeling the weight of her decision. She had just committed her entire convoy to helping strangers, aliens they knew nothing about. It might be the biggest mistake of her career, or it might be the most important thing she ever did. The small craft reached the alien fleet. Sarah listened to the radio chatter as her teams made contact. This is Team 1, making contact with the largest vessel. They are opening an airlock. Going in now. Team 3 here. We are reading critical life support failure on this ship. Multiple casualties. Medical team moving in. Team 7. Captain, you need to see this. These ships are incredible. The technology is way beyond ours. But everything is fried. It will take days to fix, Sarah grimaced. Days. They might not have days. Do what you can. Focus on life support first. Keep people alive. We can worry about engines later. Over the next hours, Sarah watched as her teams worked miracles. Human engineers crawled through alien ships, figuring out systems they had never seen before. They connected human life support units to Xanthari ships. They shared oxygen tanks. They gave food and water to the dying aliens. And slowly, the Xanthari fleet came back to life. Sarah decided it was time to meet their commander face to face. She took a shuttle to the largest Xanthari ship, the Dominant Flame. The Xanthari were impressive. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with scaled skin that shifted between blue and green. Their faces were angular with large eyes and sharp teeth. They looked like predators, warriors. Commander Thelvos met her in the airlock. He towered over her, but his expression was not hostile. He looked confused. Captain Chen, he said. The translator made his voice sound mechanical, but she could hear the emotion beneath it. You came. You actually came. Your people needed help, Sarah said simply. Of course we came. Thelvos stared at her. We are strangers. You owe us nothing. We are not part of your empire. We cannot pay you. Why did you risk your ships and your people to help us? Sarah blinked. It seemed like an odd question. Because you needed help. That is enough. That is not how the galaxy works, Thelvos said. No one helps for free. What do you want? Territory? Technology? Resources? We want you to not die, Sarah said. That is all. Thelvos looked like she had hit him with something heavy. He turned to one of his officers and spoke in his own language. The officer looked equally shocked. They both stared at Sarah like she was an alien, which Sarah supposed she was. I do not understand your people, Thelvos finally said. That is okay, Sarah replied with a small smile. We can learn about each other. But first, let us make sure everyone survives. My engineers say your ships need major repairs. We do not have all the parts you need, but we can stabilize life support and power. Then we can figure out how to get you home. Home is 9 days away, Thelvos said quietly. Our rescue fleet cannot arrive in time. Then we will keep you alive for 9 days, Sarah said. Or longer if needed. Whatever it takes. Thelvos was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer. The Krelix Dominion said we should die. The Ithran Collective said they could not help. Our own people are too far away. You are the only ones who came. Then I guess it is a good thing we were nearby, Sarah said. Over the following days, humans and Xanthari worked together. It was not easy. The two species were very different. The Xanthari were formal and hierarchical. They had trouble understanding human humor and casual attitudes. When a human engineer made a joke while fixing a critical system, the Xanthari thought he was not taking it seriously. When humans shared their limited food supplies equally with the Xanthari, the aliens did not understand why they were not demanding tribute. But slowly, understanding grew. The Xanthari watched humans work impossible hours without complaint. They saw human medical teams treat Xanthari wounded with the same care they gave their own people. They heard humans laugh while solving problems that would make Xanthari engineers despair. Sarah spent time with Thelvos, explaining human culture. She told him about Earth, about how humans had a long tradition of helping strangers, about maritime rescue laws that said you always saved people in danger no matter who they were. "It is just what you do," she explained one evening in his command chamber. "But why?" Thelvos asked. He genuinely did not understand. Sarah thought about it. "Because someday we might be the ones who need help, and we hope someone would do the same for us. But more than that, because it is right. Because we are all living beings trying to survive in a big, cold universe. We should help each other." Thelvos looked at her with his large, alien eyes. "Your species is very strange, Captain Chen," Sarah laughed. "You are not the first person to say that." But as she left his chamber, she saw something in his expression. Respect, wonder, and maybe, just maybe, hope for something better than the galaxy he had known. Engineer Maria Santos had never expected to become friends with an alien warrior. But life had a way of surprising people. She was working in the engine room of one of the Xanthari cruisers, trying to figure out their power distribution system. It was incredibly complex, far beyond anything humans had built. But it was also broken, and broken things needed fixing. That was something Maria understood. A young Xanthari warrior named Korvash watched her work. He was assigned to assist her, though he clearly did not know much about engineering. He was a soldier, trained for combat, not repairs, but he followed her around and handed her tools when she asked. "Why do you hum?" he asked after an hour of silence. Maria looked up from the power conduit she was examining. "What?" "You hum. A sound. Not words. Why?" Maria had not even realized she was doing it. "Oh, I don't know. It helps me think, I guess. Makes the work feel less lonely." Korvash tilted his head, a gesture that looked very alien on his scaled face. "Work should be serious, silent. You treat it like play." "Work can be serious and fun at the same time," Maria said, returning to the conduit. "If you can't enjoy what you do, what's the point?" "The point is duty," Korvash said. "Honor, service to the Empire." Maria shrugged. "Sure, but you can serve and still smile, right?" Korvash did not answer. He just watched her work with an expression she could not read. Similar conversations were happening all over the fleet. Humans and Xanthari were learning about each other, and both sides were confused. In the medical bay of the New Hope, Dr. James Park treated Xanthari patients with severe respiratory problems. The Xanthari had been breathing thin air for days and their lungs were damaged. James worked quickly, administering oxygen and medication. A Xanthari medical officer named Shalnira watched him carefully. She was tall, even for a Xanthari, with dark green scales and sharp, intelligent eyes. "You give them the same treatment you would give humans," she observed. "Of course," James said, adjusting an IV line. "They're patients. They need help. But they are not your people. You have limited medical supplies. Should you not save them for your own?" James looked at her in surprise. "I'm a doctor. I help anyone who needs it. That's the job." "That is not logical," Shalnira said. "Your own people should come first." "Maybe," James admitted. "But what kind of person would I be if I let someone die when I could save them? I couldn't live with myself." Shalnira was quiet for a long time. "Humans are very strange," she finally said. James smiled. "Yeah, we get that a lot this week." On the dominant flame, Commander Thelvos met with his senior staff. They were discussing the humans, trying to understand them. It was not going well. "They have given us 30% of their food supplies," his logistics officer reported. "They are now on reduced rations themselves. For us. For strangers. They have diverted their entire convoy," his navigation officer added. "The colony they were supplying will be delayed by weeks. They will lose money, time, resources for us. They work all hours without complaint," the chief engineer said. "Our warriors rest in shifts. The humans just keep working." One of their engineers collapsed from exhaustion yesterday. When we told him to rest, he said he would rest when everyone was safe. Thelvos listened to all of this with growing disbelief. Every report made the humans seem more impossible, more irrational. "They have superior technology in some areas," his intelligence officer said. "Their medical equipment is more advanced than ours. Their material science is impressive, but they treat us as equals. They ask our engineers for advice. They share their knowledge freely. Why? Thelvos demanded. Why would they do any of this? No one had an answer. A junior officer, a historian named Velmoth, spoke up hesitantly. Commander, I have been reviewing the human data files. They gave us access to their cultural database. I found something interesting. Show me, Thelvos ordered. Velmoth displayed information on the main screen. Humans have laws about helping others in danger. Very old laws, thousands of years old. On their world, on their oceans, there is something called maritime law. It says if you see someone in danger on the water, you must help them, even if they are your enemy. Even if it risks your own safety. It is considered a fundamental duty. The staff stared at the display. They made it a law? Someone asked. It goes deeper, Velmoth continued. Their religions, their philosophies, their stories. So many of them focus on helping strangers. They have a concept called the Good Samaritan from an ancient story. A man helps a stranger from a rival group who was injured. This story is told to their children as an example of virtue. Velmoth brought up more files. They have organizations dedicated to helping strangers, groups that go to disaster zones to provide aid, people who donate their time and resources to help others they will never meet. They call it charity. Humanitarian work. They consider it noble. Thelvos felt something shift in his understanding of the universe. This is their culture. Helping strangers. It is part of their culture, Velmoth said. They also fight wars. They have conflicts. They are not perfect. But yes, helping others seems deeply embedded in their way of thinking. The room was silent. The Zenthari had conquered their way across 12 systems. They had built an empire on strength and dominance. The idea of helping rivals, of wasting resources on strangers, was alien to them. But here were the humans doing exactly that. Days passed. The work continued. And slowly something began to change. Maria taught Korvash how to repair power systems. She showed him tricks and shortcuts, sharing knowledge that would have been secret in Zenthari culture. Korvash began to understand that work could be satisfying in itself, not just a duty. One day, as they finished connecting a new power relay, Maria cheered and high-fived him. Korvash did not know what a high five was, but he learned quickly. And for the first time in his life, he found himself smiling while working. Dr. Park and Shalnira worked together to treat patients. Shalnira watched James treat every patient the same way, whether human or Zenthari. She began to understand that his kindness was not weakness. It was a different kind of strength. When a human patient needed a rare blood type and they were running low, Shalnira suggested using Zenthari medical technology to synthesize it. She did not have to help. The patient was not her responsibility, but she did it anyway. James thanked her, and she found she liked the feeling it gave her. Throughout the fleet, these small moments multiplied. A Zenthari soldier shared his emergency rations with a hungry human engineer. A human mechanic taught a Zenthari technician a better way to calibrate sensors. A group of humans and Zenthari ate together, sharing stories about their homes. Captain Chen visited the ships regularly, checking on progress. She noticed the changes. Humans and Zenthari were no longer just working together. They were becoming friends. One evening, she found Thelvos standing in an observation room looking at the stars. "Penny for your thoughts," she said. Thelvos looked at her. The translator struggled with the idiom. "I do not understand. It means, what are you thinking about?" "My people," Thelvos said slowly. "My empire. We have existed for 1,000 years. We conquered 12 systems. We defeated every enemy. We thought we understood the galaxy. Strength matters. Power matters. The weak are consumed. The strong survive." He gestured at the human ships visible through the window. "Then you arrived. Small ships. Weak weapons. Inferior numbers. And you saved us. Not because you wanted something. Not because we had anything to offer. Just because we needed help." Sarah stood beside him. And I wonder if we were wrong. About everything. About what matters. About what makes a civilization great." He looked at her. "Your people are not weak, Captain Chen. You are strong in ways we never considered." Sarah smiled. "We're just doing what seems right." "You would do the same." "I am not sure we would," Thelvos admitted. "But perhaps we should learn how." He turned to face her fully. "When we return to our empire, I will tell them about humanity. I will tell them what you did for us. I do not know if they will believe me, but I will try to make them understand. Understand what? Sarah asked. That there is a different way to live, a better way perhaps. That helping others is not weakness. That kindness is not foolishness, he paused. Your people may have saved more than our lives, Captain Chen. You may have saved something more important. Our future. Sarah felt the weight of his words. She had come here just to help people in trouble. She had not thought about changing civilizations or challenging philosophies. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the most important changes started with simple acts of kindness. We're glad we could help, she said quietly. Outside the window, human and Zenthari ships floated together in the darkness surrounded by stars, two species learning from each other. And in that moment, the galaxy felt a little bit smaller and a little bit brighter. The warning came at the worst possible time. Lieutenant Park was finishing his shift on the Vigilant when his sensors lit up with new contacts. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, large ships, military configurations, and they were coming fast. Captain Chen to the bridge now. Sarah arrived in under a minute. She had learned to recognize that tone in Park's voice. It was the tone that meant trouble. Show me, she ordered. The display updated. 8 ships, each one comparable in size to the Zenthari cruisers. But these were different. Darker. More aggressive in design. They were heading straight for the stranded fleet. Are they Zenthari? Sarah asked. No, ma'am. Different configuration. Different energy signatures. I'm sending the data to the dominant flame for identification. The response came quickly. Thelvos appeared on the communication screen and his face was tight with anger and fear. Captain Chen, those are Krellick's Dominion warships. They are our enemies. They knew we were stranded. They ignored our distress calls. Now they come to finish us. Sarah felt her stomach drop. Can your ships fight? No. We have partial life support and basic power. Our weapons are offline. Our shields are down. We are defenseless. Thelvos paused. Captain, you should leave. Take your ships and go. This is not your fight. You have done more than enough for us. Sarah looked at the display. 8 Krellick's warships. 3 human ships. The Vigilant was a small escort frigate designed for patrol duty, not major combat. The Iron Mountain was an unarmed mining hauler. The New Hope was a transport with 500 civilians on board. This was not a fight they could win. They could not even pretend to fight. It would be suicide. Marcus Webb stood beside her, his expression grim. Captain, he's right. We should withdraw. We can't help them against that kind of firepower. Sarah knew he was right. The logical choice was to leave. Save her own people. She had already done more than anyone could expect. No one would blame her for retreating. She thought about the civilians on the New Hope family's children, her responsibility. She thought about the Zenthari who would die if the Krellics attacked. She thought about what it meant to be human. No, she said quietly. Captain? Marcus looked at her in alarm. We're not leaving. Sarah turned to her crew. Battle stations. All ships to defensive formation. Put us between the Zenthari fleet and those Krellic ships. Captain, that's insane, Marcus said. We can't stop them. They'll destroy us, maybe, Sarah agreed. But they'll have to go through us first. She opened a channel to all 3 human ships. This is Captain Chen. The Krellics are coming to attack the Zenthari. We're going to stop them. I know this isn't what we signed up for. I know some of you have families waiting at home. If anyone wants to break formation and leave, I'll understand. No judgment. No consequences, she waited. The channel was silent. Then one by one her ships responded. Iron Mountain standing by, Captain. Where you go, we go. New Hope holding position, Captain. Those Zenthari are our friends now. We don't abandon friends. Sarah felt a surge of emotion. Pride. Fear. Love for these impossible, brave, foolish humans. All right then, she said. Let's do this. Someone open a channel to those Krellic ships. The channel opened. Sarah took a breath and spoke clearly. Krellic's Dominion vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Exploration Convoy. The Zenthari fleet is under our protection. Turn back now, there was a pause. Then laughter came through the speakers. Cold, harsh laughter, humans. We do not know humans. We do not care about humans. Move aside or be destroyed with the Zenthari. The Krellic ships continued their approach. Sarah could see their weapons powering up. This is your final warning, she said. These people are under our protection. If you attack them, you attack us, more laughter. Then you will die with them. Sarah closed the channel. She looked at her crew. Well, I guess we do this the hard way. The human ships moved into position, forming a wall between the Zenthari fleet and the approaching Krelliks. It was a gesture more than a defense. The Vigilance weapons would barely scratch those Krelliks cruisers. But they were there, standing in the way. On the dominant flame, Thelvos watched in disbelief. They are insane. Why would they do this? His officers had no answer. None of them had ever seen anything like it. 3 small ships against 8 warships. It was not strategy. It was not tactics. It was suicide. But the humans stayed in position. Thelvos made a decision. Power up everything we have. Weapons, shields, engines. I don't care if it burns out every system. We stand with the humans. Commander, we barely have enough power to maintain life support, his chief engineer protested. Then we die fighting instead of waiting. Thelvos snapped. The humans are willing to die for us. We will not let them die alone. All ships battle formation. Protect the human vessels. Throughout the Zenthari fleet, alarms blared. Systems that had been carefully conserved for life support were redirected to weapons and shields. It would not be enough. They were still too damaged. But they would try. The Zenthari ships moved forward, forming up around the human vessels. 12 massive warships running on emergency power, standing with 3 tiny human ships. The Krelliks fleet slowed. Sarah could imagine their confusion. This did not make sense. Why would the humans do this? Why would the Zenthari waste their remaining power on a fight they could not win? A new channel opened. A different voice, deeper and more controlled. I am War Leader Krexthor of the Krelliks Dominion. Human Captain, you are making a mistake. We have no quarrel with you. Leave now and you may go in peace. Sarah leaned forward in her chair. And if we don't, then you will be destroyed. You cannot win this fight. Why throw away your lives for the Zenthari? They are not your people. They are not your allies. They are nothing to you. They're people who need help, Sarah said simply. That's enough. That is foolishness, Krexthor said. That is weakness. No, Sarah replied. That's humanity. She gestured to Park. Send them everything. Our history files. Our culture database. Everything about Earth and human civilization. I want them to know who we are. Park looked confused but did as ordered. Data streamed from the Vigilant to the Krelliks fleet. Sarah continued speaking. War Leader Krexthor, we are humans. We come from a small planet called Earth. We are not the strongest species. We are not the most advanced. But we have one rule that we follow above all others. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We help those who need help, even if it costs us everything, she paused. The Zenthari are under our protection. If you want to attack them, you will have to go through us. And I promise you, we will make you pay for every life you take. You will win, but we will make you remember this day. We will make you remember what it costs to attack people under human protection. There was a long silence. Sarah could imagine the Krelliks leadership discussing their options. They could destroy the human ships easily. But it would not be free. The humans would fight. And the Zenthari, desperate and damaged as they were, would fight too. It would be bloody, and for what? To destroy an already broken fleet? The Krelliks ships slowed further. They were holding position now, not advancing. You are insane, Krexthor finally said. All of you. The humans for protecting enemies. The Zenthari for accepting help from weaklings. Maybe, Sarah said. But we're insane together. Another long pause. Sarah held her breath. This could go either way. The Krelliks might decide to attack anyway. They might be too proud to back down, or they might realize that this fight was not worth it. Finally, Krexthor spoke again. We withdraw for now. But know this, human captain. We will remember you. We will remember this day. When we meet again, things may be different. When we meet again, Sarah said, maybe we can talk instead of fight. The Krelliks ships turned and began to move away, slowly at first, then faster. Within minutes they were gone, disappearing into faster-than-light travel. The human and Zenthari ships stayed in formation, weapons still powered up just in case. But the Krelliks did not come back. Finally, Sarah let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. Around her, the bridge crew was silent, processing what had just happened. Then someone started laughing. It was Park, and his laugh was slightly hysterical. We just bluffed a war fleet with 3 cargo ships. The laughter spread. Relief and disbelief and joy all mixed together. They had survived. They had won somehow. A communication came in from Thelvos. His voice was thick with emotion. Captain Chen, you stayed. You stood with us against an enemy that could have destroyed you. Why? Why would you do that? Sarah smiled, though her hands were shaking from adrenaline. Because that's what friends do, Commander. And somewhere over the last few days you became our friends. Thelvos was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer. I have served in the Zenthari military for 40 years. I have seen many battles, many allies, many enemies. But I have never seen anything like what you did today. You risked everything for people you barely know. You're welcome, Sarah said simply. No, Thelvos said. Thank you is not enough. There are no words in my language for what you have done. You saved our lives twice, once from death in the void, once from death in battle. And you asked for nothing in return? He paused. Captain Chen, I swear to you, the Zenthari will never forget this. We will never forget humanity. What you have taught us. What you have shown us. It will change us. It will change everything. 3 months had passed since the rescue. 3 months since humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage in a way no one expected. Admiral Creshfall stood before the Zenthari High Council, a gathering of the Empire's most powerful leaders. They sat in a vast chamber carved from black stone, their scales gleaming in the dim light. These were the rulers of 12 systems, commanders of 1,000 worlds. They did not impress easily, but today Creshfall watched them listen with complete attention as Commander Thelvos gave his report. The humans stayed, Thelvos said, his voice echoing in the chamber. When the Krelliks came to destroy us, when we were helpless, when logic said they should flee, they stayed. 3 ships against 8 warships. They put themselves between us and certain death. They were willing to die for people they had known for less than a week. The council members looked at each other. High Counselor Vrenthak spoke, his voice heavy with skepticism. You are certain this is accurate? They received nothing in return? No territory? No technology? No promises of alliance? Nothing, Thelvos confirmed. I offered them access to our technology. I offered them trade rights. I offered them diplomatic ties. They refused everything. They said they helped because it was the right thing to do. Impossible, another counselor said. No species acts this way. There must be some hidden motive. Thelvos had expected this. He had spent 3 months preparing for this meeting. I brought evidence. Data files, recordings, testimony from 50,000 Zenthari who witnessed human actions, and I brought something else. He activated a display showing the human cultural database. This is humanity's history, their values, their philosophy. They have been helping strangers for thousands of years. It is not a trick. It is not a scheme. It is simply who they are. The council watched the display showing humans rescuing people from disasters, sharing resources with starving populations, risking their lives to save strangers. Again and again, the same pattern. Help those who need it regardless of reward. This changes everything, Admiral Creshfall said quietly. If this is true, if there exists a species that acts from pure altruism, then our entire understanding of galactic politics is wrong. High Counselor Vrenthak leaned forward. What do you propose, Commander Thelvos? Thelvos took a breath. This was the moment he had been preparing for. I propose we learn from them. For 1,000 years we have believed that power and conquest make an empire great, but the humans showed me a different kind of strength. The strength to help without expecting reward. The strength to sacrifice for strangers. Perhaps that is true greatness. You suggest we change the foundation of our empire? Vrenthak asked dangerously. I suggest we expand it, Thelvos replied. We have built an empire on military might. It has served us well. But what if we also built an empire on trust, on cooperation, on the kind of actions the humans showed us? We would be stronger, not weaker. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some agreed. Some called Thelvos a fool. Some demanded more proof. But they were talking about it, debating it, considering it. That alone was a victory. Admiral Creshfall raised a hand for silence. Commander Thelvos, you will establish formal contact with humanity. Learn more about them. If they are what you say they are, then we must understand them. Because if they can make us question 1,000 years of tradition in 3 days, they are the most dangerous and important discovery in our history. Far from the Zenthari homeworld, in the capital of the Krelliks Dominion, war leader Krexthor gave his own report. They bluffed us, he told his superiors. 3 cargo ships against our war fleet. They had no chance. But they made us believe they would fight anyway. They made us believe they would make it costly. Why did we retreat? His commanding officer demanded. Because they were insane, Krexthor said. Because they meant it. I saw the data from their ships. They were ready to die, all of them. For strangers. I have never seen anything like it. And I realized that fighting an enemy who has no fear of death is always expensive. The question is, was destroying an already damaged Zenthari fleet worth starting a war with this new species? He paused. I decided it was not. We withdrew to gather intelligence, to learn more about these humans. And what have you learned? His commander asked. Krexthor displayed the human cultural database that Sarah had sent them. That they are exactly what they appeared to be. Irrational. Self-sacrificing. Dangerously altruistic. And that makes them unpredictable. You cannot threaten someone who is willing to die for their principles. You cannot intimidate someone who values others' lives more than their own comfort. Weakness, someone in the room muttered. Is it? Krexthor challenged. They stood alone against us. They did not have to. They gained nothing from it. Yet they did it anyway. And we blinked first, who was weak in that moment. The room fell silent. I recommend we do not engage humanity unless absolutely necessary, Krexthor continued. Not because they are militarily superior, but because they fight by rules we do not understand. And in my experience, that is the most dangerous enemy of all. The story spread, from the Zenthari to the Krelix, from the Krelix to the Yithrin Collective, from the Yithrin to a dozen other species. Each time the story was told, it grew slightly. But the core remained the same. Humans had saved strangers at great risk to themselves. Humans had faced down a superior enemy to protect people they barely knew. Humans had done these things not for reward, but because they believed it was right. Some species dismissed the story as propaganda. Some thought it was exaggerated, but many listened and wondered. On a trading station near the galactic core, a merchant from the Vorlax Consortium heard the story from a Zenthari trader. The Vorlax were known as the most ruthless business people in the galaxy. They believed in profit above all else. But the merchant, whose name was Trell Ixon, found himself thinking about the story. About humans who gave without taking, who helped without charging. It was inefficient. It was irrational. It was also beautiful in a strange way. Trellixon made a decision. The next time he saw someone in trouble at the station, he helped them. Not for profit. Not for favor. Just to help. It felt strange. It felt uncomfortable. It also felt good. Small acts multiplied across a galaxy. A Yithrin diplomat decided to support a humanitarian mission she would have previously ignored. A Krelix captain chose to answer a distress call instead of ignoring it. A dozen species and a dozen systems made small choices to be a little bit kinder, a little bit more helpful. Not everyone, of course. The galaxy was still full of conflict, greed, and violence. But something had changed. A seed had been planted. On Earth, in a small office at the United Nations Space Exploration Council, Sarah Chen sat across from Director Williams. She had been back home for 2 weeks and she was still processing everything that had happened. You caused quite a stir, Williams said, not unkindly, threatening an alien war fleet, redistributing supplies without authorization, diverting an entire convoy on your own authority. I know, Sarah said. I violated about 30 protocols. I'm ready to accept whatever consequences. Williams smiled. Consequences? Captain Chen, you just made humanity the most talked about species in that entire sector of space. We've received contact requests from 17 different civilizations. The Zenthari want to establish formal diplomatic relations. Even the Krelix have expressed interest in dialogue. He leaned forward. You didn't just save 50,000 Zenthari lives. You introduced humanity to the galaxy in a way that no planned first contact could have achieved. You showed them who we are at our best. I just helped people who needed it, Sarah said. Exactly, Williams replied, and that's why it worked. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You weren't trying to make a statement. You just did what humans do. And apparently that's revolutionary in galactic politics. He handed her a folder. This is your new assignment. First contact ambassador to the Zenthari Empire. If you want it. Sarah looked at the folder in surprise. You want me to be a diplomat? I want you to keep being exactly what you are, Williams said. Someone who does the right thing, even when it's hard. Apparently that's exactly what the galaxy needs right now. Sarah opened the folder and looked at the orders. She thought about Thelvos and his crew, about Maria and Korvash, about Dr. Park and Shalnira, about all the connections that had been made during those desperate days. "I'll do it," she said. 6 months after the rescue, the Zenthari High Council announced a new initiative. They called it the Humanity Doctrine. It established that the Zenthari would respond to distress calls, even from non-allies, that they would render aid to those in need when possible. That strength was not just about military power, but about the character to help others. Not everyone in the Empire agreed. There was resistance, debate, and argument. But slowly the idea took hold, because 50,000 Zenthari had seen humanity's actions firsthand. And they told their families, their friends, their communities. They told the story of the humans who came when no one else would, who stayed when logic said to leave, who risked everything for strangers, and the story changed them. In a small bar on a human colony world, Maria Santos sat with her engineering crew, celebrating the end of their latest